In the sweeping history of Russia, few figures are as tragic and as controversial as Tsar Nicholas II, the last emperor of the Russian Empire. A ruler whose reign spanned some of the most tumultuous years in Russian history, his life and death remain subjects of debate and fascination. Today, we explore the story of II Alexandrovich Romanov, Nicholas II, whose destiny was forever intertwined with the fall of one of the largest empires in the world. Born on May 18, 1868, Nicholas II was the eldest son of Tsar Alexander III and Maria Fyodorovna. From a young age, Nicholas was groomed for the throne. His upbringing was steeped in the rigid traditions of the Russian monarchy, and like many royal children, he was educated to understand the weight of his future responsibilities. Though his father, Alexander III, was a forceful and autocratic ruler, Nicholas was often described as gentle, devout, and idealistic, traits that would shape his rule. However, Nicholas's sensitive nature and lack of political experience would soon clash with the demands of an empire on the brink of change. In 1894, at the age of 26, Nicholas ascended the throne after his father's sudden death. The young Tsar's reign began with great optimism, but it quickly became clear that the political landscape of Russia was changing. Nicholas married Princess Alexandra of Hesse, a German princess who would become Tsarina Alexandra. Their love story, deeply personal yet marked by tragedy, would define their lives and the fate of Russia. Despite their devotion to one another, the royal couple's marriage was not without its struggles. Tsarina Alexandra, particularly, faced immense pressure, especially due to her German heritage during a time of rising anti-German sentiment in Russia. But perhaps the most painful trial for the royal couple came in the form of their son, Alexei, who suffered from hemophilia, a condition that caused him great pain and put his life in constant danger. Desperate for a solution, the Tsar and Tsarina turned to the controversial figure, Grigory Rasputin. A mystical monk who gained considerable influence over the Russian royal family, Rasputin's presence at court would spark rumors, intrigue, and scandal that would haunt the monarchy. While the Romanovs were mired in personal struggles, the Russian Empire was facing its own crisis. The early 20th century saw increasing social unrest, widespread poverty, and industrialization that challenged the autocratic rule of the Tsar. The 1905 revolution, sparked by discontent with poor working conditions and the failures of the Russo-Japanese War, revealed the fractures within Russian society. Nicholas was forced to issue the October Manifesto, which promised civil liberties and the creation of a legislative body known as the Duma. However, his reluctance to relinquish absolute power meant that these reforms were half-hearted and largely ineffective. In 1914, World War I broke out, and Russia was plunged into a devastating conflict. Nicholas II, though a military leader at heart, struggled with the demands of war. His decision to take personal command of the Russian army, despite lacking military experience, proved disastrous. The Russian forces were ill-prepared, and Nicholas's absence from St. Petersburg left the Tsarina in charge of domestic affairs. By 1917, the Russian Empire was on the brink of collapse. The February Revolution, driven by hunger, dissatisfaction with the war, and resentment towards the royal family, led to Nicholas's abdication on March 15, 1917. The Romanov dynasty, which had ruled Russia for over 3 centuries, was no more. After his abdication, Nicholas and his family were placed under house arrest in various locations, finally being sent to Ekaterinburg in Siberia. The once powerful Tsar, now a prisoner, faced an uncertain fate. Despite attempts by foreign governments to intervene and save the family, the Bolshevik government under Lenin was determined to eliminate any threats to the revolution. On the night of July 16, 1918, Tsar Nicholas II, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 children were executed in the cellar of the Ipatov house. The murder of the Romanovs marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in Russian history, the rise of the Soviet Union. The death of Nicholas II was not the end of his legacy. In 2000, the Russian Orthodox Church canonized Nicholas and his family as martyrs, honoring their devotion to the Russian Orthodox faith and the tragic end to their lives. Today, they are remembered with reverence and sorrow, symbols of both the grandeur and the downfall of the Russian Empire. Tsar Nicholas II remains one of the most polarizing figures in Russian history. Some view him as a weak ruler who failed to recognize the needs of his people, while others see him as a martyr, tragically caught in the tides of history. Whatever the view, his story is one of love, loss, and the inevitable march of time that forever changed Russia. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life and reign of Tsar Nicholas II. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical insights. Until next time, keep exploring history.